As the number of coronavirus deaths in India rises, there are questions about the effect of herd immunity and whether the situation can happen elsewhere.
India reached a devastating coronavirus milestone this morning, 20 million cases since the pandemic began. Only the U.S. has had more overall. In response, a key government opponent is demanding a nationwide lockdown. Yagita Lamai, with our partners at the BBC, sent this report from the home district of India's Prime Minister.
This is an area under lockdown at the moment. Otherwise, these banks behind me would have been full of pilgrims, full of tourists. And what we're hearing from many people here is that the actual number of people dying from COVID-19 is vastly more than the official death toll. The images that we saw in Delhi's hospitals and crematoriums shocked the world, but the situation here is even worse. Even during normal times, healthcare facilities in areas like these are fragile. And in hospitals here, we're being told that people don't have even the most basic of care. So oxygen shortages, of course, but there are no doctors, no nurses to look at them. In some hospitals, we're told that they're not even getting food.
Joining us is Dr. Akili with the Ultimate Wellness Group. Greetings, sir.
Greetings, ma'am. How are you?
Good. What are the implications on the rise of cases in India?
Well, I think the rise in the cases in India speak to multiple different things. Number one, India did not use vaccines to initially decrease the number of cases they had early on in this pandemic. It was shutting down their society. It was wearing masks. It was social distancing. It was implications that they put in their society where you could even be fined if you were found not to wear masks in alignment with the standards that they set. I think the other implication is, as I have said on many occasions, herd immunity is a theory and it has not been proven. And when you look at the way that India had some pretty high cases early on in this pandemic, and they decreased it in the ways that I just mentioned. And now that they've had a return of these cases, the return of the cases recently within the last few weeks is after they have been vaccinating people since January. Their vaccine started after America's vaccination campaign. But to say that vaccines are part of improving the situation, then how did we have this astronomical increase in the number of cases? So I think the implications that are coming out of India to me are, again, as our beloved Minister Louis Farrakhan mentioned, that you will not be able to control this, and scientists from hell will not be able to keep in line a pestilence that came from heaven.
Now, why is the Indian increase in cases so significant?
Well, actually, that's the problem, is they can't figure it out, because the only thing that in the multiple stories that I read, the only thing that they are speculating is that once people started getting vaccines, and if I remember correctly, I think they're only at about 7%, somewhere between 7 to 10% of the population that has been vaccinated, right? So we're talking about a country that has 1.3 billion people. It's a lot of people. And 5 to 10% may not be a large percent of the population, but that's a huge number of people that were vaccinated. But they are saying that because of these vaccines, that people relaxed their standards. People started having public, gatherings and stopped wearing their masks and stopped doing the social distancing at the same manner that they were in the beginning of the pandemic. And that is a lot of the discussion is around that. There are those that would mention that in the pandemic that happened in the early 1900s, all around the world, there were many people that said, and much scientific information that pointed to the fact that cases rose once vaccination started. So I think that's another thought process that has to be added to the pot. is this country going through what they're going through because of the vaccines?
Good point. What are you hearing from your colleagues in American emergency rooms and in hospitals?
Yes, interestingly, I spoke with two physicians ER physicians that I know, one in New York, one in Chicago, and another nurse who was in the ICU in the Little Rock area. And all of them had very similar explanations of what they are seeing. They used the word bizarre, all three of them. They used the word unknown, confusing when they were talking about what they are seeing. And all three of them mentioned that in their part of the area of the country that they're working in, they are seeing more patients that are having severe reactions to the vaccine than they are to people that are actually catching the COVID vaccine. And so we're talking about blood clot problems. We're talking about skin eruptions, neurological issues. There are a lot of things that are happening because of this vaccine, and they're not being purported through the news as they should be. We have a lot of people that promoted this vaccine as if it was the savior and was going to be the savior of this process that we're going through. But what they are noticing is that their colleagues and the hospitals in general are trying to find every reason to explain these problems, but they don't want to point at the vaccines. They are hesitant to say that the vaccines are part of this problem. And to them, the three that I'm speaking of, they are absolutely sure that these are problems that are coming directly from people that are being vaccinated. And it seems to be very methodical in that 2 weeks after the second shot of Moderna or Pfizer, these people are having these extreme problems with these vaccine adverse events.
Now, is it possible that what's happening in India could happen here and in other countries? The statistics say that India is only second to America. So what do you think? What are your thoughts on whether or not we should be worried about this happening here?
Yes, that's very interesting because I know that I've done many hours, probably many days of research on vaccines in general. And there are many studies and many scientists who say that when a person gets a vaccine of the old type or this new mRNA type, that there is a decrease in the strength of a person's immune system after getting the shot. There's a period of time before it takes this so-called vaccine to do what they purport that it's going to do. But what people are seeing is that there is an increased susceptibility to infections, including the coronavirus after the injection, after the second injection, worse than the first one. And both of the physicians and the nurse that I'm speaking of have noticed that. It seems that these people are having some of these major problems and actually getting infected with the virus around 2 weeks, mostly after the second shot. And so I would say that there's a statement that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us, and he said, what you see afar may be coming to your shores. And I am concerned that that is going to happen. We have a population in this country that has been, I believe, sensationalized into this vaccine. And I'm talking about the Black healthcare workers. And although the physicians that I'm talking about and the nurse are saying that many healthcare practitioners are not getting the vaccine, there still are enough of them that I think are having an effect on the Black population and the brown population to go ahead and get this vaccine as if we have seen anything positive from it at this point. And so that's my concern, is that if the theory from the past and if my study is telling me something that is based in truth, in that the more people get vaccinated, the worse this problem is going to become, then we're actually going to see in this country and in many places of the world, actually what the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said. He said, this vaccine is death itself.
Now, we hear a lot about herd immunity when it came to this vaccine. What exactly is herd immunity and what are the pros and cons of it?
Yes, ma'am. So herd immunity is a process by which either when a section of a population or a certain region of a population gets an infection, or the infection is popular in that area, the more people that are affected with that, the less it has a longevity. And then when vaccines are put into the equation, the theory is that if you vaccinate a certain percentage of the population, then that infection doesn't have the ability to continue to foster itself because people have been protected, and there's only a small area or a small number of people that could get the infection, and it can't cause a large problem anymore. Well, as I have said, herd immunity is a theory. It's never been proven. Nobody can point to any absolute scientific reality that says herd immunity is a reality. And then if we actually look at herd immunity from the theoretical place that it is, we would have to say that the coronavirus can't produce herd immunity, not even in theory, because there has not been any of the three that are now available in the United States. And I haven't seen any information from the vaccines that are available in other parts of the world that they literally stop the progression of the disease by either the person that has the vaccine spreading the infection nor getting the infection. So pros and cons of herd immunity are zero as far as I'm concerned. They're not positive or negative because it hasn't been proven as anything other than a theory.
Gotcha. Now, Dr. Akili, thank you for all of your information and your insight about vaccines. You have a group. I want you to talk to us about the Ultimate Wellness Group, some of the things that you all cover there, and what's next on your next show.
Yes, ma'am. Well, I would say that the Ultimate Wellness Group is a organization that is open for medical practitioners that are interested in giving life-saving information, and there's no economic foundation to what we are doing. I have mentored quite a few young future physicians, as well as mentored some physicians. And the reality is that we are in a cesspool of medical information. And I literally mean that, because when you go to not only the mainstream media, not only regular media, but if you go to social media and the internet in general, there's so much bad information. There's so much truth mixed up with falsehood. There's so much information that has been commercialized, as the Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us in How to Eat to Live, that we're dealing with a commercializing people that want to make a profit off of everything. And unfortunately, you can't make that distinction based on a person's color, creed, ethnicity, what language they speak, because that mentality has overcome the medical industry, whether you're talking holistic health, natural health, products, herbs. It's a cesspool of information. And so I pray that the Ultimate Wellness Group represents a body of information where you can trust, and you don't have to worry about being a number. You don't have to worry about being a bag of money, but you can take this information, apply it to your life. And inshallah, God willing, you know that this is coming from God, and that's why it's giving you so much beneficial results.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Akili, for joining us this week. We look forward to you returning next week with your insight.
Thank you.
Let's pause for an announcement from our sponsors. When we return, Delilah Martinez, activist and founder of the Mural Movement in Chicago, will be on to talk about the movement and its impact. We'll be right back.
Be a part of the force that powers truth in journalism. Go to nnvnews.com/donate.
worldwide, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Download the Final Call Radio app and take us everywhere. On your phone, on your computer, on your tablet, on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. You can also log on to finalcall.com and click the Listen Live button or finalcallradio.com. Final Call Radio, the official voice of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and the Nation of Islam.
Please share your thoughts with us in the comment section below. Follow us on social media at NNV News, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel at National Network View. I am Anissa Muhammad with nnvnews.com.
The mural movement is creating beautiful pieces of artwork and murals depicting positive images and sending messages of unity and pride to communities.
Hi, my name is Delilah Martinez. I am an mural curator. I own an art gallery called Vault Gallery. It's located in Pilsen. Awesome. So right now I'm kind of calling it the Mural Movement. It all started on Tuesday, which was about 3-4 days ago. In the evening, I had one of the local businesses that are located in my area ask me to come write a message on the boarded up store that they have. They just wanted to write a message, Black Lives Matter, whatever. And so they called me because I work with a lot of different muralists. So I sent out a muralist that evening and got a mural done that night. Because of the surrounding businesses that also have been boarded up, they started to notice that and they started reaching out to me. So the first day I got about 7 to 8 different stores. I then put out a call on my social media to start looking for businesses that are boarded up in the South Side and West Side communities. And that started quickly rolling, and I started getting other muralists. But the whole objective is to send out a message of unity between the Black and Brown communities.
Joining us is Delilah Martinez, founder of the Mural Movement. Greetings.
Hi, how are you? Thank you so much for having me. I'm so honored to be on here.
Thank you for joining. What is the Mural Movement?
So the Mural Movement is a creative activism initiative. We started in June of 2020, right after the murder of George Floyd. It really started when the stores here in Chicago started to board up and we started to get in protest mode. We also started at that same time to hear rumors between Black and Brown communities not really getting along. So I felt very powerless at the time, especially watching the news. And I wanted to think of some type of way that I could give back or do something or use my voice and help the artists use their voice too. So one of the business owners located here in Pilsen in Chicago reached out to me because in the midst of the protests and the rumors of Black and Brown communities not getting along, we wanted to send a message in our community, which is predominantly Latino. We wanted to send a message of Black and Brown unity and support Black Lives Matter. So the business owner asked me to come and write Black Lives Matter on his storefront. But I thought of a better idea that says, okay, we could write that, but we could also create images that support that message as well. So it started in June 2020. We are still going, and it really was just to support the message of unity and support, everything that was going on during that time.
Right. Now, as a person who started the Mural Movement, you're also the owner of Vault Gallery. What was your personal journey into curating art shows and managing artists?
It's been quite a long journey. Thank you for asking, but it really started, my first business is called VIP Paints. I started a paint and sip about 8 years ago. And along the way, I've met amazing artists that have worked and instructed at VIP Paints. So it really started because one of my friends' show got canceled. And so I was like, hey, why don't I just throw an art show for you? And I wasn't really sure. I wasn't really at that time selling artwork, but I knew that I loved it, and I loved the artists that were working for me at the time. And you know, I'm also an art collector, so I threw my first show for an artist named Carlos Delgado, and there was about 17 pieces, and I sold 13 of them at the time. And then after that, I started having different artists from our local area requesting to do art exhibitions inside the gallery. So that's how I got started. It's been, like I said, a really long journey. And as far as curating, I feel like I just have an eye for things, and I, you know, try to stay with the times, and I just try to support artists. I've always had like a creative nature. My mom and my grandmother were always really into arts and crafts. And so I feel like creativity was embedded in me. So I've always just had an appreciation for artists and what they do for our world and how they make it beautiful.
Can you give us an approximate number of artists that you work with to participate in the mural movement?
So currently we have about 128 murals throughout Chicago. We have some in New York. We have in Indiana, in San Diego, in Milwaukee. So it's well over 100. I lost count a long time ago, but I've worked with so many amazing artists. And the Mural Movement is a volunteer-based initiative. So most of the artists, all of the artists have volunteered to create these murals. So it's well over 100. I lost count.
Where else can we find those murals? I know you mentioned Chicago and really all over. Are there any specific murals that you want to bring attention to in today's climate?
Mainly, our murals are located in Black and Brown communities. Our focus is to empower Black and Brown communities. Our focus is to make people feel beautiful, empowered, and to add value to communities. The Mural Movement is a lot more than just murals on walls. We also create community engagement elements, which include hiring the youth, volunteering to clean up the area, feeding the community, providing resources. We also do a lot of creative we also think of a lot of creative ways to gain awareness to our people and our communities. So it's a little bit all over, mainly in Black and Brown communities, but the objective is to become more global and find areas that need uplifting, need some beauty, just need to add value and art into their communities. So we're always on the lookout for walls or businesses or things that we should be involved in, and mostly, like I said, Black and Brown communities.
Now, can you speak to the impact of having beautiful artwork in our Black and Brown communities has? Do you have any experiences that you can share with us or testimonies from the community who's received some of these murals?
So a little bit about me. I grew up in Chicago. I went to a Catholic school that I was in Bridgeport, predominantly all white people in there. And one of the things that I noticed growing up is that there wasn't a lot of artwork or magazines that showed people of color. So I was very insecure at a really young age. I was bullied because I was mistreated, I guess, for the color of my skin. So being insecure, at a young age, I always felt the need to make people feel beautiful. And one of the things that I noticed at one of the murals that really inspired me to want to do more, and it's located on 79th and Cottage Grove here in Chicago, is there was a mural by Haley Lassell Young. It said, "Black is beautiful." And what I usually do when I pull up to murals, if there's people there, I try to kind of lay back and hear what they're saying about it. And I saw a bunch of women and males looking at the mural, and they were saying, "That looks like me, that looks like my lips, that looks like my eyes, that looks like my nose." And I Even saw little girls posing in front of it, and they had smiles, and it just made people feel beautiful and valued and important. And I even noticed that at another place on the South Side called Exclusive. And that really took me back to the moment where I felt really insecure. Like I remember as a little girl praying to have whiter skin, to have blue eyes, blonde hair, because I was bullied. And when I saw those women feeling beautiful, feeling valued and important, that really fueled my fire to want to do more. Another thing is the Black and Brown Unity Wall is one of our main walls that include 7 to 9 different Black and Brown male artists. We started that mural in the beginning of June, and it was here in Chicago. We came up with the idea, since those rumors were spreading in Chicago of Black and Brown communities not getting along. I reached out to an artist by the name of Tubbs, and I'm like, what can we do? Can we do more murals? And he came up with this really great idea that we would create a mural that included the Black and Brown artists. So they worked really hard. It took them about a week. And when they were finished, and this also included an image of Breonna Taylor and other really important people. And when we completed the mural overnight, somebody came and painted over it in white. So they had a big roller brush, and it was like a 60-foot long mural. It was in a viaduct, and it was pretty big. And like I said, we have 7 to 9 artists on that mural. I think there was about 7 at the time. So since it was painted overnight, I was really taken back by the response. To me, it was a direct response to what we just did. And, these artists, they work really hard. They usually get paid for these things. And this was completely volunteered. And this was before the Mural Movement was actually called the Mural Movement. This was like right at the beginning. We were raising money on my Instagram along with my friends' Instagrams. And so we raised the money, and, overnight it was erased, and it was very hurtful. And like I said, I was taken back at the fact that was the response. But in the same instant, it really fueled me to want to do a lot more, because I was like, wow, how ugly is that for someone or whoever to come and spend their money during a pandemic. This is at a time we had curfew here in Chicago. For someone to come and do that to such a powerful message, it still makes me emotional. And so I really wanted to, it fueled me at the time to want to do more. And this is at a time I'm probably at the 7th or 8th mural. It wasn't that many, but that's where everything started to change, and I wanted to do a lot more.
Now, very quickly, you're doing so much important work, and I agree. It's so important for us to see ourselves as the beautiful people that we are. How can we find out more about the Mural Movement, and how can we donate to your cause?
Well, you can find out a lot of information on the muralmovement.org. You could donate there. We also have really cool merch items right now. If you donate, everything is matched by a private donor. And we'll be doing tons of different murals here in the city in Chicago throughout the summer. We have a lot of plans ahead. We'll be doing a mural for Adam Toledo. And we'll also be doing a mural at a shelter for asylum seekers. And we have a lot of things coming up this summer. So a donation would be appreciated. And you can find out more information at themuralmovement.org.
Perfect. Thank you so much for joining us, Ms. Martinez. I look forward to just digging up some more information about the murals and seeing them in more places around the states.
I appreciate you guys so much. I'm so honored. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Let's pause for announcements from our sponsors. Afterwards, Jimmy Bounphengsy will join us to discuss how he took patrolling and making his community safe into his own hands. We'll be right back.
Be a part of the force that powers truth in journalism. Your support helps to combat false media. Cash App NNV News.
Greetings from National Network View. This week's Final Call cover story headline memorializes the late, great DMX. Last week, DMX's life was celebrated at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn. Large crowds gathered to honor the legend. They were there to remember a man who wasn't afraid to express his pain with the world. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan spoke via Zoom to the large audience. He delivered words of comfort, wisdom, and guidance to everyone under the sound of his voice. DMX will live on. This FCN volume number 29 edition features the middle page article is a transcript of what the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said at the memorial. To read more, subscribe to finalcalldigital.com and tune in to the all-new Final Call Radio. This is the nnvnews.com Final Call Cover Report.
This is Sister Sajida Muhammad. We are proud to announce that the Sajida House commemorative Elijah coins are finally here. This priceless heirloom, made from recycled copper from the messenger's home, is now available at sajidahouse.com.
Please make sure you leave your comments and questions in the comment section below. Follow us on Facebook, National Network View, and make sure to check us out on Twitter as well, National Network View. This is Sergio Gutierrez with National Network View, signing off.
Activists are organizing Stop the Hate rallies, patrolling the streets, taking action to prevent crime, and establishing self-patrols and escorts for the elderly.
We're just here for the movement. We're here to try to come together as a unity. Everybody today came from different cities just to meet up. As you can see, started off by myself, so I'm glad my message got out to everyone. We're just trying to send the message out and stop the hate, stop the violence. That's what the message is right now. We're with the movement. We try to do the right thing.
And help patrol the streets of Chinatown and Oakland to help it keep it safe, and then to stop all this racism and stuff like that. It's like getting tiring, you know. Like we got no voice, none of that.
Joining us to discuss this is Asian activist Jimmy Bounphengsy. Greetings.
How's it going? Thanks for having me on here. I really appreciate it being on here.
So, you were born in Stockton, California, raised in San Francisco, and grew up in a pretty tough neighborhood called the Tenderloin. Why is that area called the Tenderloin?
To be honest with you, I moved there early 1990s, I believe 91. I have no idea why it's called Tenderloin, but all I know is when I was growing up there, it was mostly like gang violence, a lot of drug territory. I seen it all growing up over there. So yeah, I did grow up in the Tenderloin district. I had no idea why it's called TL.
So speaking of that being a tough area, what was it like? You said you moved over there in the early 90s, and the climate in the early 90s in California had, we saw a few things. We did see some riots and so forth. In your particular area, what was going on there?
In the early 90s, it was different from back then till now, because early 90s it was a big Asian community, especially Cambodians and Laotian and Vietnamese. And so I was around everybody a lot. I started hanging out with the boys and stuff like that, started growing up in the lifestyle too, as well as far as drug goes, selling drugs and everything else, you know. I experienced it all with it, but now it's like everything's changed now. Like it got so worse that it got people sleeping on the streets with needles and everything. It got so bad that I passed by there last week. It's different. It's really different.
Now I've learned that you have a daughter. She is a great source of motivation for your activism. What else motivated you to go from your previous job, which was being a truck driver, to taking action and gathering community members to begin patrolling the streets?
Well, what makes me really go out there, because seeing all these videos of people getting attacked, especially elderlies, it really breaks my heart just to see that every single day I go on social media, but Instagram, Facebook, or even the news. And what triggers my mind is like when I was growing up, my grandparents, especially my grandmother, walked around every single day to collect cans. And when I seen the elderly get attacked, I could only picture that's my grandparents. So, and that would really trigger me, especially when I see the one in San Francisco about that man passed away a few days later. I just told myself, like, I'm just gonna get off of work. I drove all up from San Jose to Oakland, and I started my foot patrol by myself, and no questions asked. And I knew I had to take action because it didn't sit with me well just seeing all this attack going on. So I had to take action.
Now, areas such as Chinatown have made it clear that they do not want any more law enforcement or police presence, as it is thought to harm the minority communities. Then, alternatively, organizers are establishing sub-patrols, such as the one you started, and escorts for the elderly, as we mentioned before. Have you discussed or have you established sub-patrol and escorts for the elderly or can you tell us whether or not you're seeing a difference on the escorts that you established?
I do see a difference because when I first started patrolling Oakland, Chinatown, since we speak to different languages, when I first started, I remember a woman. She ran away from me and my friends. Basically, she ran for her life because I seen the look in her face, running cross street, taking the trash out, going run to her shop, and yelling, I guess, to her employees to call law enforcement. So it hurted my feelings because I'm here to protect, But I understand because it's traumatizing, because they've probably been victimized so much that they see this on the daily. So, but luckily that day, I did have a friend of mine that speaks the language. And he went over there to explain to them. Then from that point on, people started seeing me on the daily, and everybody's attitude changed. Instead of being afraid of me and my friends, my crew, my volunteers, they actually thanked me by offering me drinks, food, or anything, whatever it may be. Just getting in the car, just waving high, honking at us, like giving us a thumbs up. So it is a big change, and people also roll by Chinatown to see me and my volunteer, my crew was out there, and everybody always give the nod up, like give me the thumbs up too. Mm-hmm. So it is making a big impact to the community.
Now, with as you go from hood to hood, I know you're staying connected with the people. As you mentioned, you have recruited some members to escort who speak a multitude of the different languages in your community. Elderly abuse is what it appears to be underreported. How are you keeping tabs on that, and what are some of the common themes that the people in the community are speaking to you about?
Just recently, an elderly got attacked, and I think he told the police that he fell down. I guess Asian elders was taught that way to stay quiet and not to speak up, But right now, I'm going out of my ways to find out, go talk to them, try to find a translator, and say, we're really here for the people, because we can't stay silent anymore, because you get attacked, it's the only right thing to do, just speak up, because everybody's going to get away with it. So I'm here to try to represent and let the community know that I'm here, no matter what. And yeah, it's really sad, just to see that, because I went to an elderly house yesterday, but he wasn't home. The neighbor told me that he still claimed that he slipped and fell, but if you see the footage, there's no way you slip and fall and then have a big old black eye and scraped head and blood all over his face. There's no way. But I mean, I just want to send a message out there, like, hopefully the Asian community could hear this, like, to speak up, because we need a voice too, It's not right. Just stay silent, it's not, because we're not going to get anywhere, you know, or the kids' future not going to get anywhere. That's the reason why I'm standing hard to go all out and just speak up and just say, I'm not afraid. We got to really take it to the next step, you know, because I grew up, like I said, in a rough neighborhood. I grew up in the Asian hood. It's like, that's how it all started when my family came from Laos. And like, when I was a kid, I see my grandparents, the neighbors start like trashing our place and stuff like that. But I didn't understand that when I was younger. But my mother got called, go back to the country. So when my uncle formed, that's how all the streets started, when the Asian gangs came together. That's how it all started from the street, to protect the community. And that's what I'm doing. I have to step up because I cannot just sit back, like I said before. So I have to show, I can't show weakness when I'm on the street. So that's why my presence is different from other volunteers out there. So, but yeah.
Now it did. You had a AWA rally recently take place in Oakland, California, but you also had a solidarity rally to stop the hate. Where did that take place, and what other rallies and events do you have planned?
Ever since I became this person, an activist, to be honest, I'm new to everything, and I never even heard the word activist before, you know, because I'm not that educated person, you know. I'm a little different, but yes, we did have that rally, but we also have to stop Asian hate. But I have other communities reaching out to me, from Blacks, Browns, and just everybody. So I've been going to different rallies, show support. Yeah, so my next movement is like, I'm just trying to bring everybody together, you know, like I'm actually like going to city to city, and I'm trying to go state to state, but it's really hard because I haven't been to work ever since I got out the hospital. So, but that's what I'm trying to do right now, is unite everybody, come together, go to different neighborhoods and talk to one another, and like try to spread the message out there so we can help each other out, you know? So it's like, when this person knows, okay, this is the wrong thing to do, this is the wrong thing to do. So that way it won't escalate anymore, you know? So that's my next plan I'm doing right now. Just basically going to city to city, neighborhoods to neighborhoods.
You're doing so much important work in your community, and it's obvious that what you're doing is needed. I want to thank you for joining us tonight here at NNV News, and I look forward to speaking with you again soon.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us today and tuning into NNV News. Please share your thoughts with us in the comment section below. Follow us on social media at NNV News, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel, NNV News. This is Rosalind Price with National Network View News. Good night.
Be a part of the force that powers truth in journalism. Go to nnvnews.com/donate.